Hi everybody, it's Stefan again for Sinedots.com, and in today's tutorial we are going to take a look at a free plugin, which is the most awesome free plugin in my opinion, called Sinedots. And basically this plugin can be used for a number of things, but mainly it creates abstract looking background elements. So in the tutorial I'm going to explain all the settings of the plugin, and we are going to take a look on this background element and we will create it. So let's start with the tutorial. First of all, delete these things and create a new composition. Choose the full HD preset, make it 10 seconds long, and let's call it BG element. Hit OK, and now let's create a new solid layer, and it's very important to make the solid black color. So choose the black color, hit OK, and again hit OK. Now let's come to Effect and choose our plugin Sinedots. Now let's take a look at the settings of the plugin. You don't see anything yet because the intensity of the plugin is too low. So first of all, let's take a look at the settings here. We have inner intensity, outer intensity, and color. Let's increase the inner intensity to 15, for example, and you start to see that we have some beautiful shapes here. And let's change the color, for example, something bluish, and you can see from here you can control the color of the shape, but I prefer to colorize everything at the end. And inner intensity increases the intensity of the inner part of the shapes, so let's increase it to 25. Now let's take a snapshot, and now let's bring it back to 15, and now we can increase the outer intensity, increase it to 25. It takes a little bit to render. This is a pretty heavy plugin, and that's why you can see. Let's bring it down to 15 maybe. In a full HD comp it can be very heavy to render. So the outer intensity increases the intensity of the edges of the shape. As you can see, we have a strong edges, and the shape fades out as it goes away, as you can see, and that's a very beautiful result, I think. And if we hit F5, we can see the inner intensity. When we increase the inner intensity, it increases intensity of the elements here, and the shape is constructed from a number of strokes, as you can see here, but I will explain everything about that in a moment. So let's leave the inner intensity to 5 and outer intensity to 2, and actually let's increase the inner intensity to 15 to see better what's going on here. The next thing what we have here is an add factor. What this factor does, let's increase it to 0.40, and let's take a snapshot and reset it. Now let's select the layer, duplicate it 4 times, and change the transform mode to add, and it will render in a second. And now you can see we get the same result if we hit F5 to toggle between the snapshot and the actual preview. You can see that there is no difference. Basically this can increase the intensity of the shape based on, for example, you can see I copied the main layer 3 times and change the transformer to add, and this is the same. I increased the add factor from 0.10 to 0.40, and we have 4 copies of the layer and we get the same result. So basically that saves us from creating a number of layers, duplicating them and changing the blending mode to add. So let's delete these layers, and we have weight x1 and x2 setting, which deform the shape. As you can see, it works for the x-axis. You can deform the shape as you wish to create some different shapes. Let's reset it, and again we have the same option for the y-axis. You can see we can deform the shape according to the y-axis. And finally we have a gamma correction here, which can be used to bring up some of the details of the shape. As you can see, you can increase it to get a brighter element on, or you can reset it back to 1 to get this result. We have a blend mode here. Leave it at green, it works best. And we have offsets, several offset values. Here you can offset the shape, as you can see, to create animations, and that's what we are going to do. We are going to animate these parameters to create our animation. As you can see, we have 4 different sliders here. Let's reset everything to 0, and let's take a look at these settings here. We have several sliders, which I will explain what they do in a second. Let's take everything and reset it to 0. Okay, what we can see is that we get a straight line at the bottom of our composition, straight white line. And what this does, these sliders offsets the line and deform it to create the shape. So let's take the outer y2 and reset it, and you can see that the line is offset a bunch of times. Now let's reset the rest of the settings, and you can see by resetting every slider we get a different result, and you can see that basically this controls in which direction the shape, the strokes will be offset. So you can see you can get very abstract looking and beautiful results by offsetting these shapes. Let's reset it, and let's reset this slider, and as you can see, the whole shape basically is created by a straight line which is deformed and offset several times by these sliders here. So you can animate the offset to get different results. As you can see, you can offset it like so and turn this like so to get this result. And this plugin is simple but very powerful. You can create very stunning designs with this, but you have to experiment a lot to get the result you want. I spent several hours to get this result, which I showed you in the preview. So basically that's everything for the plugin, all the settings. Now let's create the background that I've showed you in the preview. Let's set the inner intensity to 5 and come to the beginning of the composition, actually to 15. in order to see what I'm doing, because 5 is too low and you can't see anything. So let's come to the beginning of the composition and animate these 4 offset options. So set a keyframes for the 4 options, come to the end of the composition and set the first one to 1 full revolution, the second one to -1, the third one to 1, and the fourth one to -1. This way we are going to get this animation right here. You can see we have a beautiful animation. Now let's create the shiny look that I've created. Close this and let's colorize first of all our element. Come to effect, color correction, and select color balance, and let's make it blue. Increase the shadow blue balance to 15, set the midtone green balance to 25 and the midtone blue balance to 15 and the highlight blue balance to 45. This way we get a nice colorized element, and I prefer this way because I have more control over the colors overall. The next thing what we are going to do is to add another free plugin, which is, let's see, Unmode. And what this plugin does, it's a very simple plugin. As you can see, we have a single slider here. It is very simple but yet powerful, because what basically the plugin does, it takes everything which is black and makes it transparent. As you can see, if I turn off this plugin, we have a black solid, but if I turn the plugin on, everything which is black becomes transparent or alpha channel. So it's a great plugin, I love it. And let's add a fast blur effect. Come to effect, blur and sharpen, choose fast blur and click the repeat edge pixels checkbox and set the blurriness to 250, and we get a very blurred moving like background element, and we are going to use this as a base for our background. So let's select this layer and duplicate it. Come to edit, duplicate to duplicate the layer, close the Sinedots and the color balance. All the settings will be the same, and the Unmode. Now let's delete the fast blur to get our background, and you can see if I change the blending mode to add, we get a nice background element here. Now let's select this layer, come to edit and duplicate it again, close this, close the color balance and delete the Unmode effect. Come to effect, color correction and choose curves. Let's solve this layer to see what I will create with the curves. I will create a simple S curve to get a bit of contrast, like so, because I want to see only the edges and I want them very intense in order to create a nice shiny glow over the edges of the element. So let's close the curves, come to effect, choose stylize, glow, and let's change the settings of the glow. Change the glow threshold to 15 in order to even the darker parts of the image will emit glow. Change the glow radius to 15 and leave it like that. And let's switch to the original and see how it looks. Let's add a star glow. come to effect, trap code, and add star glow. Let's change the settings of the star glow. Come to color maps and change the 3 color gradient preset with the heaven preset to get this look. Again, for the color map B we will choose the same preset, and let's see how it looks. I think this glow is a bit too much. Let's come to the curves and play with the curve. Like so. Maybe bring the opacity down a bit, or leave it like that. And again, select this layer, come to edit and choose duplicate, hit T to review the opacity and set it to 50. And now you can see what we get here. I think it's too intense right here, so let's turn up the threshold a bit, like 25. And as I said, it takes a bit of tweaking to get the result you want, like so. Maybe, oh yes, of course, everything was perfect, but I forgot one thing. I forgot that I turned up the inner intensity to 15 instead of 5. Let's bring it back to 5. Come to this layer, set it again to 5. Come to this layer and set this intensity to 5 again. And yep, I think we're almost done here. Let's switch to full res to see the result already, what we've created. And we get this nice beautiful animation. Now let's create the final comp where we will make several copies of this animation to create the look that I showed you in the preview. So select this element and put it in new composition. Now let's create a background layer. So come to layer, new solid, and go with background, and we will apply a ramp effect, generate ramp. In the end color will be a black color, and the start color will be kind of bluish color or something like that. Let's see, something like that. And the start of the ramp, it will be in the middle of the comp, and the end point we are going to put it far away and change it to radial ramp. So change this to the middle of the comp, and this maybe right here to get a nice smooth background. Change the blending mode of our background element to add, and now you can see we already created this nice awesome background. But let's create 4 copies of this by selecting the element and hitting Ctrl D or Command D on a Mac, and select the second layer, hit R for rotation and rotate it 180 degrees. Come to the second layer, hit S to bring the scale, and hit the constraint proportions checkbox and set this scale to -100. This way it will turn the bottom part to the top part of the composition, And finally we are going to take this element and hold down shift and hit S to review the scale, and again change the scale to -100 and change the rotation to -180 degrees. And you can see we got this background element that I showed you in the preview. It's not the same because I've created in 10 or 15 minutes. It takes a bit of tweaking, but basically that's the way the plugin works. And as you can see, you can create very awesome and stunning designs using this plugin. It can be used for background elements, it can be used for elements that will animate. For example, you can create a water turtle element and cut out a part of this animation and put it right there to get some action in the water turtle and stuff like that. Also, let's see how to change the color. You can simply select the background layer, come to the start color and change it to orange, for example, and you can see you get this nice result. You can come here and change the start glow settings and the core balance settings to change your core, or simply you can select the layer, come to effect, core correction tint, to tint, and select the tint, copy it and paste it, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and you get this nice background. You can change the color to pinkish purple or whatever color you want. You can change it to green and create different designs. You can play with the offset of the plugin. You can play with these settings here to create different results, as you can see, and a number of things. I hope this tutorial was useful for you and you learned a bunch of new techniques and things about this plugin. And download the plugin, play with the settings and have fun with it. Hope you liked the tutorial and see you next time.